Alright, so this is our homework help for Module 4, Lessons 11 and 12, 5th grade. We're really focusing on 12. We did some problems in class on 11. I will show some of the work here to remind you what we did in class. So if you notice that sometimes we have our answer as a number, and sometimes it's a fraction. But we need to use fractions in order to find our answer at some point of the question. So first we're going to remind how to solve with the tape diagram. To help us out, I'm going to draw this out. So we have a tape diagram, and we know our top is going to be 5. Now, what are we going to divide it into? We're going to divide it into thirds. And we are looking for 2/3. Alright, so now we need to do our multiplication to do this, because as I told the class already, of means multiply. So we're going to do our 2/3 times 5, which is 2 times 5 over 3. And that would give us 10 over 3, which when we divide 10 divided by 3, we get 3 and 1/3. We get the 1 from our remainder, and we actually get the 3 not from the quotient but from our divisor. So 2 of these is 3 and 1/3. So this is equal to 3 and 1/3. And how do I know that's true? Well, one of them would be 5/3, which would be 1 and 2/3. And if I add 1 and 2/3 plus 1 and 2/3 plus 1 and 2/3, well, not 2, sorry, my mistake. No, it should be right. We would have 3 from these, and then 2/3 plus 2/3 would give me 6/3, which is the same as 2, and 3 plus 2 equals 5. Alright, so our answer there is 2 and 2/3. I'm going to do something special today. I'm actually going to help you set up some of the problems and give you some explanation. Terrence finished a word search in 3/4 the time it took Frank. Charlotte finished a word search in 2/3 the time it took Terrence. Frank finished the word search in 32 minutes. How long did it take Charlotte to finish the word search? Okay, so we are going to be looking for Charlotte. That's the question that we have. But we need first to have Frank and Terrence, because Terrence is part of Charlotte's problem. Alright, so what we see is that Terrence finished the word search in 3/4 the time it took Frank. We know Frank did it in 32 minutes. So when we do our tape diagram, to find Terrence, this will be Terrence. Well, let me put it in green so you remember. We know that it's 32 minutes. Alright, now it says Terrence finished a word search in 3/4 the time. So I'm going to do 3/4 the time. So I'm going to divide this into fourths. And Terrence is 3/4 of the time. I know I put a T here, but that should actually be Frank. Terrence is at the bottom because he did 3/4 the time. So some of you already know this, 3/4 of Terrence time. So we know that we're going to do 3/4. Oops, sorry, I'm not going to do that part. Okay, once we figure out that answer, we're going to use Charlotte finished her word search in 2/3 the time that it took Terrence. So Charlotte so this is actually Terrence's, if I'm not mistaken. This is Terrence's. Okay? Alright, so whatever we get there for Terrence, now for Charlotte, we have 2/3. So this will be Charlotte's. So first we need to find Terrence. I'm giving it away if I do that. So we have to multiply a fraction of Terrence to a number of Frank, and after we get that answer, we're going to use that to do the same thing for Charlotte. So I'm not going to figure it out for you. I'm setting it up for you. Hopefully you can see that. So once we get our answer, we're going to find Charlotte by multiplying a fraction times a whole number times Terrence. Alright, I know I didn't figure it out for you, but that's your job. If I do it for you, then I'm doing your homework. Mrs. Phillips ordered 56 pizzas for the school fundraiser. On the pizza order, 2/7 of them were pepperoni, 19 were cheese, and the rest were veggie pizzas. What fractions of the pizza was veggie? So again, we're looking here for a fraction. Alright? Now, what do we have as our whole? We know that our whole is 56 pizzas. So when we make our tape diagram, we know that our whole is 56. We know that 56 is the total, and we know that 2/7 is our pepperoni. 19 were cheese. Okay? So let's find out the pepperoni first. So there I have 7ths, and our pepperoni is 2/7. This will give me the pepperoni. Once we have our pepperoni, we can find out from 56 minus pepperoni minus our cheese, and that will give us our veggie. Alright, so again, I'm not going to solve it for you, but I pretty much did it already for you. You just have to figure out what you need to do to find the pepperoni. Okay, in the auditorium, 1/6 of the students are 5th graders, 1/3 are 4th graders, and 1/4 of the remaining students are second graders. Now be careful here. We have 1/4 of the remaining students. This is going to be looking similar to our pink and purple roses and red roses one. Okay? If you look carefully, there's 6 and 3. There's a relationship there. We know that 1/3 is the same as 2/6. If we add 1 plus 2, we get 3. So 3/6 of them are 5th graders and 4th graders. So half of them. So 1/4 of the remaining are going to be the second graders. So again, we have I'm not going to tell you what goes on top, but I will help you with the division of it. It's going to be thirds, or sixes, excuse me. This one is a little more difficult because it does have fourths in it, and we don't have fourths. We have 3 left over. Okay? What do 4, 6, and 3 all have in common though? They all have 12. So I can do this into 12. So let me show you first. I would do this. Oops, let me not do the shading. Well, I could do the shading here. So this is 5th graders, 1/6. Then we have 4th graders, 2/6. Okay. Now, if I divide this more into 12s, I still get a completely different question. Well, now I need to turn my 1/4 into 12s. Okay, so it would be 3 12s. So now I can shade in 3 12s of this. So we have this as our second graders. We have this as our 4th graders. And we have this as our 5th graders. Okay, now I'm not going to tell you what goes on top, but most of you should be able to figure out what goes on top. Alright? So you need to find out how many second graders are there. So there's 3 12ths second graders out of this tape diagram. Alright, I'm not going to solve it. Alright, I'm not going to do number 4 for you. I'm going to go ahead and do another one that hopefully will help you. I'll go all the way through. In a class, 1/6 of the students are wearing blue shirts and 2/3 are wearing white shirts. There are 36 students in the class. Boom, 36 students in the class. 36. Okay, how many students were wearing a shirt other than blue and white? Alright, so first I'm going to do my blue. My blue has 6 shirts, so I'm going to cut this into 6s. And this represents my blue. Alright, 2/3 were wearing white shirts. Well, I'm going to change my thirds I don't have white, so I'm going to use yellow. Into 6s, 2/3 into 6s. I'm going to multiply times 2, so whatever I do on top, I do on the bottom, and it's 4 6s. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my white. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, nope, sorry. Yes, 4 6s. That's right, 4 out of the 6s. Now, how many students were wearing shirts other than blue and white? That's the remainder. Okay. So if you look, I have one unit that is the what I have, and the units are 6, 1/6 of 36. So 1 unit is equal to 1 times 36 over 6, which is the same as 36 over 6, which is equal to 6. How do I know? It's because 36 divided by 6 is 6 times. All right, so my answer is 6 students were wearing a shirt other than blue or white. Okay, so I went through the whole thing on that one. I'll go through another whole thing. Let me check one of these. Jenny's mom says she has an hour before bedtime. Jenny spends 1/3 of the hour texting her friend, 1/4 of the time brushing her teeth and putting on her PJs together. All right, so we have 1/3 of her hour texting a friend. And then we have 1/4 of the time. Again, that's an hour that she's brushing and PJs. She has an hour before bedtime. All right, so we're going to start off with 1/3. And it says she spent the rest of the time reading. So our whole hour is going to be the big. And what is 1 hour? We're breaking it up into smaller time, so it's 60 minutes. And we have thirds and fourths. Okay? We should know this by what we did before, that we have 1/3 and 1/4. They can be turned into 12s. And then we have times 4, so it's 4 12s. And then we have 1/4, and we're trying to get it to 12s. Why 12s? Because we know they have that in common. They both can get there. Okay. Oops, that should be 3 12s. All right. So together, for the texting and the brushing the teeth and PJs, they used 7/12 of the time. All right. Now, So I can break this up into 12s. I know some of you are going, I don't want to break it up into 12s. Well, we have there, we have, oops, sorry, we're doing 12s. I'm going to do half. Half more is 4. And then I'm going to do thirds here. And there I have 12s. So 1/3 of the time, which is 4 12s, was spent texting. 1/4 of the time, which is 3 12s, was brushing teeth and PJs. And the rest of the time, she spent reading. Okay, so we could find the number for brushing PJs and texting, or we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 12ths of an hour. So 5 12ths of 60. Now I know my math. I know that 12 goes into 12 one time and 12 goes into 60 5 times. So I know my answer is going to be 25 minutes reading. She spent 25 minutes reading. All right, it looks like I'm running out of time here. I'll do that again so you can see it in slow motion. 5 12 times 60 is the same as 5 times 60 over 12. 5 times 60 will give me 300 over 12. If I divide that, I can go into 300 divided by 12 twice. That's 24. Gives me 60 left over, which is 5. So there's my 25 minutes. All right, I like the way I do it, where you can do the 5 times 60, and you know the relationship, 1 time here and 5 times here. So then we have 25 over 1, which is the same as 25. All right, so that's how I figured it out. The code word or bonus word for today is pump. I'll write it down. I'm looking right at my pump, my bike pump.